So, tell me again about the men in the masks. I see. Then let's start from the beginning.
Hey, it's me, Goku!
Katana Zero is a fast-paced beat-em-up type video game. You run around confined spaces, slashing enemies, snatching objects and yeeting them at foes, or deflecting enemy bullets like a badass. You get to play as a katana-wielding assassin running around like a madman who is capable of slowing down time and predicting the future. Half the game is spent in this fun gameplay loop, while the other half is spent pursuing a surprisingly engaging, dark, and mysterious story. This game strictly follows the rule of quality over quantity, as this is a pretty short game that can be beaten within 4 to 5 hours. But everything you're presented with is polished to a high degree, whether it be the gameplay, presentation, story, or spicy soundtrack. This is a critically acclaimed game, and it's gotten plenty of positive reviews, but I haven't seen many people actually talk about this game, so I felt like making a little review, a spoiler-free review. Hello there, internet user, my name is Mikul, and this is Katana Zero. This game is split pretty evenly between the story stuff and whooping some pixelated ass, so let's take a look at the more exciting stuff. The gameplay. Katana Zero has got very fast-paced combat. It's got simple controls, it's very fluid, and it's responsive. Your objective is to usually kill all enemies in a given room. The weapon you're given is a katana, and that's it. Wait, for real? Enemies you face charge at you head on and get real aggressive once you gather their attention. You have to find the balance between diving balls deep into enemy territory and staying patient, because you'll definitely get overwhelmed if you get too aggressive. I find it more fun when I get more aggressive, because you get a lot more adrenaline by whooping more ass in a shorter period of time, but you'll likely have more success if you play patiently. Regardless on whether or not you suck ass, dying is quick and snappy. Rooms of enemies are real condensed too, so there's not much intermission between deaths. Many enemies will wield guns, shotguns, or you'll encounter actual sentry guns, which may sound like bullshit, but you're able to outmaneuver these guys most of the time due to the tight level design or super satisfying dodge rolling. Slashing enemies never gets old, but the game throws in objects you can pick up and yeet at enemies or use in gimmicky ways, and you got your special trump card, deflecting enemy bullets with your katana. God damn, never bring a knife to a gunfight, huh? While in Katana Zero, you get to farm gamer cred by jumping enemies and killing off anyone who's bold enough to get a whiff of that bathroom you wear. Enemies die in one hit, so it's real quick and satisfying to move from one enemy to the next, but you also die in one hit, which adds a lot more risk to careless behavior. Hold up a minute though, that's a lot of stuff happening on screen. Indeed it is. But if anything gets too tight for your liking, you get to pull out your other trump card, slow mode. Ooh. At the press of a button, you're able to slow down time and catch a breather or nail the timings on deflecting enemy bullets as an example. You got limited juice to work with, obviously, and at the end of every room, you have the option to view a replay on how you did in real time, so you get to be proud of yourself and be like, oh shit, that was pretty badass. So you don't gotta feel lame for abusing this mechanic. Enemy variety isn't that high, but level design varies quite a bit. The game has a lot of gimmicks that can be interacted with, and the game never milks anything like crazy. If anything, there isn't enough. Normally levels aren't super long, and they're spaced evenly throughout the game, mixed in with the story. This makes the combat feel real fresh all the time. Even with all the one-hit kill stuff, this game manages to throw some boss battles at you. Normally you'd want there to be a lot of back and forth when fighting a boss, and preferably without much filler space, like when you have to sit around doing jack doodly waiting for the boss to become vulnerable. Sometimes games with a real good gameplay loop would fall short when it comes to boss battles because the main formula used wouldn't mesh super well when creating a stereotypical boss fight. You'd think this kind of gameplay loop from Katana Zero wouldn't work, but it actually does. I'm not trying to spoil much, but boss fights are kept short, with various mini phases that break up each fight. There are checkpoints set frequently, so if you die, you usually wouldn't lose much progress. Bosses don't die in one hit though, they're just wounded, I guess. Really seems a lot more gruesome than it is, but okay. I find it really awesome how much stuff this game is able to throw at you. The variety this game has is... whew. Damn! This game's like 4 to 5 hours long, yeah? Okay, probably like only half the game is spent in combat. Okay, and yet there is so much shit packed into that space of time? Okay, sometimes the main gameplay loop is flipped on its head, or you gotta survive through gauntlets of enemies. Sometimes there's comedy here and there, and oh shit, suddenly you're on a motorcycle chase? Damn! Loads of mechanics, bold or subtle, are thrown at you, and the game moves from idea to idea to idea, and it does not lift its fat, juicy ass off the gas pedal. Okay, what the fuck did I just say? This game has a speedrun mode as well, and a hard mode. I think the combat in this game is pretty replayable, and the devs give you that option to blaze through combat sections of the game without having to get through the story. The hard mode is also great for those hardcore gamers, as the base game isn't super challenging, and this hard mode is an actual harder difficulty that doesn't just nerf the player and buff the enemies tenfold. There are unique enemies and mechanics made specifically for this mode. There are tons more enemies, but in my opinion, I don't think they're mindlessly spammed throughout each level. In my experience, I found everything fair game, most of the time. It's a harder difficulty that makes the game a lot more challenging and less bullshit. But with the base game, especially for a first playthrough, that balance between gameplay and story is nailed beautifully in my opinion. I think some people aren't big fans of the various pauses in combat throughout the game, but I sure am. The gameplay during these pauses in combat mainly consists of getting through massive dialogue trees and, walking.
Oh my god, bro.
Okay, now wait, hold up. These are actually really well made too. It's not boring. Trust me, bro. Now, when you think of a dialogue tree, you'll probably think of a scenario where a character will talk to you for a bit and then you'll be given some responses to choose from. And then sometimes you'll get different responses in return, depending on what you chose. From the games that I've played and seen, characters on the other end of these dialogue trees would usually talk for extended periods of time, and then you finally get a chance to speak and all you can say is like a short sentence at most. And then you'll be hit with another yap session. Awesome. If not handled well, conversations will feel very one-sided and the person you're talking with will feel like they're monologuing. If we're talking about a group conversation, then I suppose it's not as bad, but again, if not handled well, it'll probably feel like you're not a part of the conversation, which is usually not a good thing. Another common problem with dialogue trees is that player input can feel very unnecessary. What I mean by that is sometimes it'll feel like your responses don't matter. You'll get hit with a yap session and then you can finally say something, but regardless of what you say, you'll still be hit with the exact same exposition, except maybe it might be worded slightly differently. Like seriously, imagine a conversation between two characters. You play as the majestical Johnny Testicles, and you're talking to the great overlord behind some super important dangerous operation you're participating in. I don't know. This overlord guy is throwing commands at you left, right, and center and is giving you some important information. You got no choice to follow along, otherwise you'll be executed or something. This overlord finally sends you off to your mission. What do you say? Yes sir, yes sir. Or go fuck yourself. Man, I hate this guy. Go fuck yourself, man.
Okay. You got anything to say?
I definitely stretched that example out way too much, but I don't care. If there's gonna be dialogue trees in a video game, then I would really appreciate it if the devs played around with them a bit. Have some exclusive dialogue behind certain choices, maybe some cool or funny reactions or something, even if in the end your choices don't matter. I also get that dialogue trees can be used to break up exposition a bit and keep the player engaged. Sometimes this works, but sometimes I just want this shit to wrap it up. Don't you hate it when people don't shut the fuck up? Listen, I'm a pretty patient gamer. I take my sweet time with games, I read whatever is given to me, and I do my best to understand what's presented to me, even if it's confusing or a little dull. But man, if you don't got something interesting or relevant to talk about, then shut your bitch ass up! If something super complicated needs to be explained, then at least keep it concise, man. I'm not that smart. Like... Come on, man! I just want to play my games, man. So shut the fuck up! So what does all this have to do with Katana Zero? Well, a lot of things. For starters, conversations are very back and forth. You're given the opportunity to talk a lot without it ever getting tiring, and you are very capable of delivering more than 5 words of speech. Something that makes this game stand out is this timer they got, which is pretty nutty. This timer is split into 2 sections. You get a period of time to respond normally, and an initial period of time where you get to interrupt whoever is talking. You can actually get people to shut the fuck up and move on. Thank you, Katana Zero. Thank you, ASCII Soft. I love you. Every time you're given the ability to speak up, there's another person talking in real time. Usually you're given a small window of time to interrupt said person. You can go down that route, or you can let others talk and you can get some additional dialogue or dive deeper into the story. The game follows a pretty linear path and story, but dialogue trees scattered throughout the whole game are absolutely massive, and you can really choose how conversations or interactions go. Sometimes you can actually alter how some parts of the game plays as a result of your choices. There's also an optional secret path you can take down the story depending on how you get through the game, but I won't spoil anything other than the fact you get to be an asshole, which gives this game plus 100 points. You can be the biggest prick ever, be real patient and learn a lot more of the story, or you can be a mix of both. Even if your choices don't affect the main story too much, everything is super engaging and fun to go through. Certain dialogue and information is locked behind certain choices, so there's a lot more added replayability there. Katana Zero is one of the few games I've played where I immediately wanted to start up new games just to see the different outcomes. It really helps that the game is short, and you get a level selector once you beat the game. Oh, and if I haven't made it clear, pretty much no conversations or interactions are dull or boring in any way, at least in my opinion. Characters do not overstay their welcome and are never unintentionally obnoxious. And hey, if you don't give much of a fuck, you can always tell others to shut the fuck up. You can get a fun experience going down that path. Also, I'd like to add that Katana Zero is the only game I've played where the dialogue is so fancy. There is a very surprising amount of effort put into just the text and how it's presented. Color-coded names or highlighted text for important things, or red text for more emphasis on something, shaky text, wavy text, visual effects, distorted music. When you interrupt someone, you can see their dialogue shatter, or sometimes there'll be powerful slams with added audio to really put a lot of oomph into otherwise silent dialogue. It's all eye candy. There is no voice acting whatsoever, but the everything else adds so much effect that it's not necessary. Just another layer of detail that's pretty unnecessary but makes the experience so much better. Now, I'd like to take a moment to appreciate the artwork. God damn. This game has got some pretty sexy pixel art. Now pause. Look at the cat. Aww. This is an M-rated game. Yeah, go fuck yourself, cat. Despite the use of pixel art, this game manages to capture very dark and mysterious themes. Katana Zero does not hold back when using strong language, exploring suggestive themes, drug use, and presenting violence. There is some real spicy gore action going on throughout the game, especially during combat. There are tons of visual effects and custom animations to really nail the experience even more. The sound design really helps too, man, my god. And then we got the soundtrack. Damn! Need I say more? There are loads of bangers stuffed in this soundtrack. There are tracks that capture very dark and intense vibes to match with the game, but I still can't help myself from jamming, dog. Shit got me feeling devious. The presentation of everything really comes together and is what makes the story hit so much harder. I'll do my best to spoil as little as I can while trying to make you go wowzers or something. To put it simply, Katana Zero takes place in a dystopian city after a war. You play as this assassin with amnesia who is also a war veteran that slowly regains his memories as the game goes on. You're given assignments from your psychiatrist to kill off drug dealers or bad guys. You're also on drugs, a special kind of drug. You kinda rely on this drug. It's very sad. It's what allows you to manipulate time like this. I won't say much more than that. The story is not very straightforward. It's very mysterious, and sometimes it can feel all over the place. Fortunately, I don't think that's much of a bad thing for this game. The presentation of the story really helps by keeping you interested and curious on what will happen next. At least from my experience, I never felt overwhelmed or confused when playing this game for the first time. I found it really fun piecing bits of information together. That being said, you'll probably miss out on some details on your first playthrough. There are plenty of little details and bits of information that are very subtle, but that didn't hurt my experience with the game. Katana Zero always manages to pique your curiosity and keep you engaged from start to finish. You're presented with a very healthy amount of characters, not too much, but not too little. You're also taken to many locations where the game manages to show off its sexy art style and a bit of environmental storytelling. Although the story is pretty linear for the most part, it's very open-ended and a lot is left to the player's interpretation. This game is technically not finished. There's a free DLC that's been in development for... Holy chalupa! 6 years? God damn! Silksong? This DLC is supposed to be a continuation of the base game, so there's still a bunch of stuff we don't know. If you've heard about this game, you might have seen some people complain about its vagueness or how incomplete it is. And I mean, fair enough, I guess. I'm not saying the story is super clear. I'm also not saying everything in the story is all peak fiction, because there's definitely a specific something that tickles my microscopic brain, and not in a good way. If you play the game, you might know what I'm talking about. But I don't let that bother me too much. There's still plenty of high quality meat to the story that you can chew on, but what I care about most is the experience it offers. It's very cinematic, it's very emotional, it's very unique. The fact that so much happens within this 4 to 5 hour game alongside all the combat stuff is just incredible and is something more people should be praising. There are no dull moments. Like I've said before, the game does not lift its fat juicy ass off the gas pedal. Whether it be the gameplay, story, presentation, soundtrack, holy fuck. Is it worth that $20 price tag? Yes, I'd say so. I also see it go on sale regularly on Steam as well. It may not give you tens or hundreds of hours of content, but it's still replayable, and that experience you get is just so awesome. So that'll be it for this review. Please ignore the sudden ASMR. I have to stay quiet, otherwise the feds will be on to me. I definitely did not forget to record the outro, and it is not 2:46 in the morning. Anyway, if you watched the whole video, thank you. I think Katana Zero is a great game. I love how cinematic and moody it can get, and the gameplay is just awesome. I've had a lot of fun completing the hard mode and doing speedruns for the achievements. Something I didn't mention is that I see a lot of people compare this game to another critically acclaimed game, Hotline Miami. I've never played it, but make of that what you will. Maybe I convinced you to try Katana Zero out, or at least entertained you. If you liked the review, I'd appreciate if you subscribed or left a comment or something. If there's something I can improve on, let me know. I'm very ignorant and I've only recently branched out trying various kinds of games. If you really like this video, check out these reviews I did on Plants vs. Zombies or Celeste. Okay, that's all. Have a great day, internet user. Thanks for watching.